Life has definitely been different with education. There have been so many changes in the last 9 months, and it's like never before. We've never taught this way before, but we've had to just adapt and change up how we do things. So the two things obviously that have affected us are social distancing and wearing masks. In the classroom, we had to completely change how we taught. We split up classes into smaller groups. We utilised any classroom we had available to now become a new classroom. We had to take away specialist subjects and kind of incorporate them in the classroom with the teacher. So the teacher now taught things they'd never taught before, which was quite interesting, but very enjoyable. The mask wearing, I think, is the big one with teaching. You know, it's such a personal relationship that you have with students, and they bond so much with their teacher. So many of them actually read your lips and you don't realise. And it was very hard to especially get that rapport at the start. They were very nervous coming back wearing masks. They were hesitant to put their hand up and answer anything. And, you know, it's hard as a teacher because I want to smile and they can't see that I'm smiling under the mask. So we definitely found that a little bit challenging. And even just our voices, like in the first few weeks, my voice was really sore at the end of the day because you had to project so much more when you're wearing a mask and you're trying to communicate, you know, fractions or nouns with a group of children. So that was quite difficult. So since lockdown was introduced, the schools, I think, did something different. Every school kind of did something different. As far as I know, I don't think any schools closed. The concerns are, of course, in the end, that the education is affected. But I personally am very scared to return to school with the infection so high. So I do think it's the right decision to delay opening schools again. I think the teachers have shown in the last year that they can adapt and overcome. And you make a plan. You make a plan and you get everything done in the time that you've got. So even if schools are delayed by a couple of weeks, I know that teachers are very capable of still covering the content that's needed and making those decisions to ensure that the kids can progress to the next level. I think some impact could be that socialisation between the students. They haven't had that opportunity to kind of just be children and play and run around, and sport has definitely been limited in the past 9 months, although we did get to do a little bit of sport. But there is a concern, but I have complete faith in children and their resilience, and I know that no matter what knockbacks they're getting now, they'll be able to come back and make up for it in the future. 2021, we thought maybe we might be back to normal, but it's not panning out that way. So we've actually had a meeting the other day and put some things in place to maybe look at how we're going to be teaching in 2021, at least for the short term. Hopefully, maybe we get through this big spike in cases and things can return to semi-normal. But I think, you know, this year's going to show that we have to adapt and just go with what each day unfolds to, and do our best to get through everything with the students and to make sure they're comfortable and happy at school. Lucky enough at our school, they were very quick to put plans in place so that we didn't have to get rid of anybody. So we all worked together to ensure that nobody was fired during this time, which is amazing. I can't speak to other schools. I'm sure at some other schools there might have been some retrenchments, which is quite sad. And I know that the government have definitely had to look at their education budgets and maybe look at the amount of staff allocated to each school and had to make some choices school by school, case by case. So I definitely think that it has affected how much resource we actually have from the education department. We actually just utilised everyone that we had in the school already. So we had lots of teachers in training, lots of coaches, music teachers, art teachers, specialist Afrikaans, Zulu teachers. So we actually utilised everyone we had in the school to ensure that we could still socially distance and also not have to get rid of any staff, which is amazing. So we utilised everyone that we had and we made it work. we've had to adapt the way we teach. So using, MS Teams and having live lessons where the teacher's available and speaks and the kids can ask questions, to utilizing technology like PowerPoint, so that the teacher can prepare everything, and inside is all the videos, all the content, all the instructions that are needed. And that actually helped us, because when a pod closed, the kids at home could still access the content. So they could still access every lesson that was happening, and could still interact with their teacher via things like Teams. But we actually did lots of live lessons. So the Afrikaans teacher would go live with all of the grade 6s at the same time. I definitely think there's going to be a change in education around the world, yes, and especially in South Africa, because I think it's been highlighted that technology has not been put in the forefront, and learners maybe weren't as comfortable with technology, teachers weren't as comfortable. And I think after this, we've realized we have to just make ourselves comfortable, and we have to embrace it and learn how to integrate it into the classroom. Not only is it effective, but the kids actually love it. So I really hope, and I do believe this is going to spur education forward on a new track in South Africa. So lots of protocols, and I'm really proud of my school that they have adhered to everything amazingly. So the kids are dropped off, there's a certain drop-off time, there's temperature checks, there's questions, all the, is your throat sore, how are you feeling, etc., etc. They go straight into their classroom. They're contained in their classroom in their pod, as we call it, with their teacher. They go to breaks with their pod and their teacher. They wear the masks in class. So lots of protocols. They actually sit separated from each other, so there's a desk in between everyone, so lots of social distancing. And in terms of education, the teachers actually upload all the content for the week on Teams, so the kids can access it. And that way, when there is a case and a pod is closed for the required amount of time, we just flip over to teaching online, and the kids can still access everything from home. They can still communicate with their teacher from home. So the learning actually isn't affected if a pod is closed. We just continue on, and we just have to learn to flip in and out of teaching with technology. So the process is that if we have a positive case identified within that pod, the pod closes down. For last year it was 10 days. I don't know if it's been extended yet. We haven't gone back to school. But for 10 days, that pod is closed. It's deep cleaned. Learning happens from home. And after the 10 days, we can actually return into the classroom. One of the benefits, if we go into even more of a lockdown, or the opening of school is delayed even further, is that we've actually experienced it before. So the kids are familiar with having to do things online, which is good. They know how to use the programs like Microsoft Teams and PowerPoint and all of those things. So as long as there is access at home to technology, it's not going to impact us as much as it did the first time. There's obviously the cases of kids that can't access technology, so we have to put plans in place, whether we print some booklets and drop them at their house or things like that. So I suppose a lot of it falls on the kids and on the parents. Say with something like Microsoft Teams, if we put the PowerPoints up there, the parent can be there while the child downloads all the PowerPoints for the week, and then the parent can actually just switch off the internet for that computer so that they can just access the work that they have to do, which is one way to kind of let the kids, work at their own pace. You can try things like, I know during lockdown, the hard lockdown, I tried attendance questions. So I'd post a fun question there each morning, and the kids love to get on there and answer it. You could actually see who was online, which is good. Having dates where the kids have to submit work helps. Then you can see who hasn't submitted, and it's not a punishment. So speaking to the parent, then contacting them and saying, is everything okay? Are they able to access the content? Do I need to make another plan? So I think there needs to be lots of flexibility. We can't presume that everyone can access all the work at home. So lots of flexibility from the teacher and a really open line of communication with the parents.